Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines. Microstrategy or microtragedy? Oh my goodness. New XRP accounts. What could it mean? And Ripple Institutional Stack plus Evernorth. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.19 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is the market is up 0.8%. I'm just not used to saying it. Bitcoin now 91,400 plus. Ethereum just over 3,000 again. Number 4 spot is XRP at 219. We're off 0.5% on the 24. We're still up 7.2 on the 7-day. Ranging price here between 220 and 224. We'll keep an eye on it. I want to tell you about this because so many people have been reacting to this. They're all in the same mindset, just like I am with my family. And it's simply this. You could have some of the most beautiful property and make some of the most amazing memories with your family in the panhandle of Florida, which is referred to as the Redneck Riviera. It is the white, silky, sandy beaches. It is the clear, blue, green Bahama Island water that you can only get right there at the panhandle of Florida in the Gulf of America. And I tell you, this is an experience. You know, you never have to leave the continental United States. The food is amazing. The people are incredible. I tell you, it is a remarkable place to be, whether it's Panama City or Destin or anywhere along that 30A. I'm telling you right now, Realty Mart can make this happen for you. And this is the kind of water you'll be looking at. We saw whales and dolphins when we were there. It was quite amazing. And this is one of the condos here, and they can get you any price range you're basically looking for. I was showing some last week in the 300K range. These are a little nicer. These run between 650 and 750, but you know what? They carry an ROI, which is a return on investment of $70,000 to $75,000. You could be renting this thing out in the weeks that you don't want. And then you're thinking, well, I don't want the headache. Well, you don't need the headache because Realty Mark and Daniel will help you get it done. So sign up, click the link underneath the video, gulfofamericaxrp.com. And then ask Daniel. He's got his number, and you can text him or call him, and he will set you up and tailor anything you're looking for when it comes to properties. Single family home, condo price range, you want to rent it out or not, they can customize it all for you. So don't mess around. Click that link below. These properties are absolutely gorgeous. And I tell you, that water and that beach look amazing, but until you walk on it, you know it's 1,000 times as amazing when you're actually there with that sand going through your feet. I'll tell you something else I like too, being from the city. I walked out on the beach and they have a shoe box on the beach. Literally, everybody's so trustworthy there. You can put your shoes there and then go sit out on the beach and nobody steals your shoes. I can't even make it up. I was in shock. Ask the family. They were laughing at me about it. But nonetheless, Gulf of America, XRP.com. Don't mess around. Start living today and making memories with your family. That's the real legacy in life. XRP exchange balance falls 29% amid huge withdrawals, reshaping liquidity as new U.S. spot XRP ETFs gain strong early demand. If you haven't seen the video from yesterday and Friday, please go watch those videos. We break down what Grok says about how long it would take to get all of the loose XRP liquidity off of the exchanges with just the 5 ETFs that are live right now. So if you want to find out more about ETFs, you can go to xrp-insights.com and you can see the breakdown statistics here. $821 million plus under management. That's $350 million plus XRP in vaults. Imagine that number when we get almost about 20 of these ETFs all out circulating every single day. The numbers are going to be amazing, but this site's very clean, very nice. Go check it out, xrp-insights.com. You can follow it. And here's a reminder from the U.S. Treasury Secretary about where we are on crypto before we go to the next few places.
We are going big on digital assets. So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do is apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stable coins. And I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stable coins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. Treasuries and Treasury bills.
And that's why we're getting that market infrastructure bill, ladies and gentlemen. You can bet you Bob. Don't believe it, it's still true. But I wanted to show you that because we have some drama jumping off here. Jack, blockchain philosopher, says the anti-Bitcoin narrative is accelerating. Operation Choke Point 3.0. Oh, it's real. MSCI's delisting plan, debanking JP Morgan attack. First, they went after Bitcoiners. Now, influencers going straight for Tether, demanding Tether remove Bitcoin from its balance sheet. Why now? The goal is simple: kill the trust in Bitcoin itself, he says. So what connects all these attacks? Coordinated attempt to slow down the new monetary policy being rolled out under Trump administration, a policy that puts Bitcoin and stablecoins at the center of a redesigned U.S. monetary system. And where is this? And this is where it gets interesting. Tether is no longer a private company. It is aligned both personally and politically with the current White House administration. Not exactly, but nonetheless, we'll get into it. Personally, Bo Hines, former general director of the White House Digital Asset Group, is now CEO of Tether's USAT division. Remember, Tether had to create a new stablecoin to launch in the United States because USDT couldn't become compliant because it's so dirty. USDT politically is being allowed to operate as a non-Genius Act compliant stablecoin, while a special USAT compliant coin was created specifically for U.S. markets. Translation: USDT becomes a global de-dollarization weapon, and USAT becomes a domestic regulated version. These are all his thoughts, by the way. Tether is starting to function almost like a sovereign wealth fund for the United States. In a real crisis, debt ceiling standoff, market freeze, geopolitical shock, Tether could act as a demand backstop. The ESF was in 2008, and it says here, and then there is this: Tether moved its headquarters from globalist bank-friendly BVI to Trump-friendly El Salvador. It's a signal we're not playing in your jurisdiction anymore. Tether's preparing for the political battlefield. The attackers aren't happening because Bitcoin and Tether are weak. They're happening because both may become a part of the new monetary power structure. Let me leave it there. So with that, I have to say, there is some thoughts to this I have, but let's understand this. J.D. Vance, the vice president, says Bitcoin serves the same function as gold in the digital age.
The crypto speech was a big hit. And I know a lot of smart people love crypto. I know some smart people actually have reservations about it.
Sure.
For our audience, can you just kind of make the case for crypto and people who have, concerns and quite frankly don't even understand it? There are a lot of folks out there. I know a lot of people own it, but
yeah, of course. So look, I'm an owner of Bitcoin here, but I'm also the vice president of the United States. So I want to be careful, but I think the core value proposition of cryptocurrency is that it's a way of transacting and a way of storing value in a modern digital age. Look, 100 years ago, if you wanted to go and buy something, you put a dollar bill on the table, you put a gold coin on the table. The value proposition of Bitcoin is that it can serve the same function, but in a digital age, a way that's secure, that's safer from fraud, that allows people to buy and sell and store value, but in a way that's consistent with the modern technological age that we live in. Now,
there you have it. Now, that's the vice president. And we also know the president's son, Eric Trump, was just showing us their Bitcoin mining operation the other day. So I have, for me, is it a Bitcoin shakeout or is it a Microstrategy turned Microtragedy shakeout? Either way, Wall Street is here now. And I think that's the larger part of this. Now, I think Wall Street's more targeting MicroStrategy at this point, and you have to wonder if it turns out to be a tragedy instead. Now, I got to give credit to my sister-in-law, Heather, on this one. Shout out to you and Kyle. Had a wonderful time at Thanksgiving together with you guys. We don't get to see you often enough, but I tell you, I could not take credit for it. She's the one that come up with that. I laughed so hard when she said it. And it makes, First of all, it makes a lot of sense to me because I feel like MicroStrategy is a house of cards. But nonetheless, even with that being said, you have to realize that it is being targeted right now in this drawdown market we're in. And will MicroStrategy be able to weather the storm is the question. And it looks like Wall Street's going to make sure they got plenty of storm coming too. So we'll see. We'll keep following it. But nonetheless, while all that's happening, XRP can be purchased via Apple Pay and Google Pay across 40 countries, and they're not partnered with Apple Pay or Google Pay directly. Now, Google was an early seed investor in Ripple when it was called OpenCoin back in the day, but we do know Ripple's interledger protocol solution for Apple Pay is certainly a very, very real thing. You can look at this and see Apple's recent update to Apple Pay system introduces the payment request API, and more noteworthy, Ripple's interledger protocol. While a footnote for Ripple, this is major news for Ripple Payment Protocol. A huge market share of the mainstream public uses Apple products, and now by default, Ripple, if the new payment request API gains traction, Ripple could become the first cryptocurrency in widespread use, and it looks like it is open to multiple cryptocurrencies, and that would make sense why Ripple always talks about it being a multi-chain world. And I certainly see it too. I wouldn't want just one chain. It doesn't make sense. We don't have one protocol running the internet we're using right now. Why would we have one protocol for the internet of value? Meanwhile, Visa has now integrated stablecoin payments. Here we go. Now, I know everybody's like, I don't see real USD on there. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing. If we just dig into this a little bit, the biggest token revolution in payments isn't happening in crypto. It's happening at Visa, MasterCard, and American Express through tokenization, which is already begun. Okay, it's already begun. They have already started doing it. Visa already processes more tokenized transactions than traditional PAN submissions. How about that one? Did you know that? MasterCard has billions of tokens live and is pushing them into every major checkout experience. American Express is rolling tokenization across wallets, card on file, reoccurring bill, and embedded payments. This isn't a security feature. It's an architectural overhaul, the biggest since the migration from swipe to chip. Except this time, it's completely invisible, no new hardware, no consumer education, just smoother payments, fewer declines, and a safer global network. That's what we're talking about. How long before the 16-digit PAN becomes nothing more than a legacy artifact? It's coming. It's coming, and you know it's coming. And I want to remind everybody, to Marcel's point, Ripple already have direct and indirect ties with Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. They've been partnered with Amex for years. Then you got Earthport and Currency Cloud from Visa and MasterCard. The connections are there. And yes, if you're wondering, because ISO 20022 is already live, I've got the answer for you. Yes, Visa is actively adopting and using ISO 20022 global standard for financial messaging, just as Swift is as well. I knew you probably knew that, but I wanted to do it. I'd get a message if I didn't. And then to add to that, let's talk about ISO 20022 handles the messaging, but it doesn't handle settlement.
Does messaging with a large data payload in the ISO 20022 messages, but it doesn't do settlement. So the ultimate would be to bring these things together where you have messaging and settlement coming together, that who owns what machine working hand in hand with something you can transfer the large data payloads.
So the second thing that I would say is Swift is primarily a messaging layer, so it moves messages or information from point A to point B. Ripple has combined both messaging and settlement together in one single place, right, which is tightly knit, so that when a message moves from point A to point B, also value moves alongside and the value is considered settled and it gets done. So you could send millions of $1 transaction or $5 transaction from institution A to institution B, and they'll get delivered to the beneficiary account safely and with almost zero errors and instant credit into the account. So
listen to this.
We are, you can call it, I mean, in terms of network, you can call it us as a Swift-like network. But in terms of technology, we are miles ahead, and we are the modern age technology that has been built up.
There you have it right there. Shout out to Naveen Gupta, who's on to a new chapter himself as a CEO. Hope everything's going well over there in his world. Most people have no idea what Ripple is quietly assembling right now. Now you think about it. We got the visas, the stablecoin embrace, right? The ISO 20022. We got all of it in place. And most people have no idea what is quietly being assembled right now, which is Ripple Institutional Stack. Take a look. G Treasury for automated liquidity plus FX. Hidden Road for DTC connected to prime brokerage. Standard custody for regulated asset safekeeping, Palisade for enterprise grade wallets and key management. All of it funnels into the XRP ledger, where XRP serves as the neutral bridge asset. With native automated market makers, a built-in DEX, and a full ISO 20022 messaging alignment, XRP can carry the same structured payment data every major bank now uses and can route payments. Meaning, traditional finance, TradFi, can now plug in seamlessly without changing rails. And once the Clarity Act is signed into law and Ripple's banking license is approved, every regulatory excuse disappears. Here you can see the Ripple stack. Ripple is needed the entire institutional stack before any global settlement could ever run on open market XRP. So they acquired Medico standard custody for regulated asset storage, Fortress Trust licensing, Tranglo for global payouts, Rail for banking and stablecoin rails, G Treasury for corporate treasuries, Hidden Road for institutional liquidity, Palisade for enterprise wallets, layered on top of Liquidity Hub, Real USD, XRP Ledger, automated market makers, Ripple Payments 2.0. The full machine is now assembled. So ask yourself, why would a company build all of this infrastructure if their plan was to keep running tiny private corridors? Why acquire prime brokers, treasury systems, custodians, and global payout networks if not prepare for something much bigger? Why build the open market stack unless the open market is the next phase? The final step is exactly that, shifting institutions off Ripple's controlled rails and onto open market XRP liquidity, where banks, treasuries, corporates, fintechs, and ETFs source XRP themselves directly from exchanges. Automated market makers, custodians, and prime brokers for real settlement. If the infrastructure is finished, if every component is in position, if the entire system is now complete, then what comes next? And more importantly, what happens when it activates? This is where we're at. This is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget Evernorth. Don't forget Evernorth. And don't forget this little piece of news that just came out yesterday evening. Vet, who is not a hype guy at all, a great guy, a developer, is a brilliant mind. Someone is doing a lot of account set transactions on the XRP ledger recently, even after BitGo stopped. Remember, BitGo had this like automated bot that was just making accounts, and we thought there was some kind of adoption taking place or whatever. But Vet says here, hold on, I feel there's a story here, folks. DT comes in and says, for those who are unfamiliar with account set transactions, it basically means someone is configuring a ton of wallets behind the scenes. Stuff like setting multi-sig, updating keys, turning certain flags on or off, adding domain info, etc. Regular people don't do this in bulk. So when you see numbers like this, it almost always a custodian, an exchange, or some type of institutional setup. BitGo did the same thing a while back, but this new spike looks like a completely different player getting a large batch of accounts ready. Vet comes in and says, correct. All of this was confirmed on XRP Scan Explorer. That's where we are today. And looking at where we are as far as on the charts, Crypto Insight UK says XRP has 10 hours. And that was at 8:30 this morning, so it has about 8 hours now to climb 0.59%, he says, and close the week as a weekly engulfing candle at range lows, with the RSI bouncing from levels lower than where the original impulse began. Eyes on this weekly close, he says. And that's what we'll do. Until then, not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.